Have you just started getting into making clear block ice for your cocktails at home and kind of wish there was a really cheap, easy hack to be able to kind of make these guys make clear ice? Well, you're in luck, because there is an easy, cheap hack. Just keep watching.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Dean Callan Show. Today we're going to be talking about making clear ice cubes using these Cocktail Kingdom silicone ice trays. Right, so first of all, what we're going to need to do is buy a couple of these trays. I got 2 here. And as you can see, you fill those with water, put them in the freezer, and they freeze. The problem you might find is when you take them out, you can see that they're frozen from the outside in, and all this impurities are kind of built up on the inside. So they end up looking kind of like this. You've got that big block of white cloudiness on the inside, or if you've got one of the outside ones, they've got a big block of cloudiness there. Now, what you want is an ice cube that looks, say, a little bit more, if I can get this to warm up, like this, where it's perfectly clear all the way through. The way to do that is this. You will have seen in one of my earlier videos, we showed you how to build one of these insulated ice buckets. Right, so what I've done here is I've got a bucket and then I've got insulation on the outside. If you need to know how to make this, we'll have a link at the end of this video showing you where to get it or where to see the other video teaching you how to make this. And what you want to do is you want to rest these inside there. Now, before you go resting these inside there though, you're going to need to do a little bit of work to them. We've got a little chopping board here. And I've got these to demonstrate. The difference between this and this is that I've punched little tiny holes in the bottom of each of these cubes. The reason for that, I might demonstrate first how I did it. So there you've got a hole there. What I did was I took a bar pourer, like one of the guys that you'd use here, take the cork off, and I just put it in the center there, turned it a few times until I'd kind of started to pierce the silicone. And if you want to rush things, you can give it a tap. And eventually, you'll pierce through the silicone and come out the opposite end. That's the way I've done it. Now, you can choose to make the hole whichever way you like. Obviously, this is not the most efficient. But that's how I did it. So I will demonstrate to you guys the same way. One little piece there. If I can just get my nails around it. Pick it out. And there's your hole. Now, once you've got your holes, I'm not going to demonstrate doing all of them. That was actually a terrible demonstration as it was. You want to have your bucket. Get these guys. Now, obviously, your bucket needs to be the right size for these. And just bring them down until they rest on the edges. I can fit 2 in there. Pushing them all the way down. And once they sit square, you then fill them up with water. Now, you can do whatever you like with the water. I'm just using straight up tap water. I have in the past used filtered water that's come through charcoal filtration and has reverse osmosis, so it gets all the little bits out, but it's not necessary. You can use straight up everyday tap water. Pouring it in the side here. And you want to kind of let it fill up from the bottom. Nice and slow. You really want to do your best to make sure the silicone's just sitting at the top of the water. like that. You want to give it a little tap just to make sure that you've got all the bubbles out of the bottom. And once you're sure you got all the bubbles out, this guy goes straight into your freezer and give it like a day or so. Obviously, different freezers are going to have different cooling capacities, but for mine, it's basically 24 hours and it should have frozen right through underneath that. So I'm going to throw that in there. And we'll come back to that tomorrow and make a video showing how to break it apart. So, since I can't remember where we left off, now that it's been a couple of days and we've let our ice cubes fully freeze, I'm just going to go ahead and pretend like, ba-ding! Here's some we prepared earlier, or the ones we just put in. They've been baking in the freezer for a few hours. Let's see what they look like. Ooh, delicious looking. They sunk down a little bit. Now, ordinarily I wouldn't leave them in ordinarily I wouldn't leave them in the ordinarily I wouldn't leave them in there that long, but we got distracted. So, what I'm gonna do, I know that they've probably frozen all the way through. Oh, I'm loving my new bucket. Yeah. So you can see all the impurities have gone through the little ice cube trays, which have fallen down. They don't usually do that, but it's a new bucket. I can fix that later. And what I'm going to do, just going to break this up. Bearing in mind, I would usually temper it a little bit more. But I got a sweetheart date with my wife tonight, so I'm in a rush. All right. And it's supposed to be easier. Now, obviously an important thing to remember is to let this temper. I've just smashed off all the excess ice because I'm trying to do it all as quick as possible. But if the longer you let it temper, when it starts to get melty, it's much easier to break through. In this case, it's going to be quite hard, but if I just tap it where the edges are, you can do so with a knife as well, you'll be able to pop these out. And let me use this. And you'll have perfect little cubes of clear ice. So it doesn't look clear at the moment because I took it straight out of the freezer and I started smashing it up. But when that gets a little bit of warmth on it and the room warms up a bit, there you go. That's why these silicone ones are so great, because they're quite flexible. So you can be flexible with them.
If you chuck them straight into a drink, will they go clear?
If you throw them straight into a drink, they'll crack because they're so cold that if the temperature rises really fast, they'll shatter and they won't look as good. But if you watch, if I let that warm up just the right pace, it's nice and clear. Hold on. There's one fresh, right? So you can see it's quite cloudy, but when I do that, it goes clear. There's the first one that we popped out. So that looks much better. The reason I started developing this is because of this, if it's on, which it's probably not. No. When you put cloudy ice under that, it looks really crap. But with this, you can see that it's nice and clear. Clear ice cubes.
Put it under the light.
Ready?
Yeah. The ones in the front.
That is a clear ice cube, and this is what the cloudy bit looks like. So you can see clear to cloudy how much of a difference it makes when you've got it under spotlight. This looks gorgeous. Different sheen to it. Anyway, yep. Enough playing with gadgets. It's Friday. We ain't got shit to do. It's Friday.
Take a picture, baby,
All right.
it'll last longer. All in your mouth. Yeah. In retrospect, I'm just thinking back to the time when it was all good, the golden era.